Imagine stopping everything you're doing, 5 times a day. Before sunrise, in the middle of a meeting, while traffic hums outside, or as the world sinks into dusk, you pause. You wash your hands, your face, your heart, and you stand still, facing one direction, whispering words that have been said by billions before you. To many who observe Islam from a distance, this routine seems puzzling. Why would someone interrupt life so frequently for prayer? What kind of faith asks its followers to kneel before God not once, but 5 times every single day? To understand this, one must step beyond the surface of ritual and look into the philosophy that shapes it. For Muslims, prayer, known as Salah, is not merely a set of movements. It is an act of connection, a deliberate conversation with the divine. The Arabic root of the word Salah means connection or link. In essence, prayer is the thread that ties a believer's life to the eternal. It is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, making it not an optional expression of spirituality, but a fundamental duty. The Quran commands, "Establish regular prayer, from the decline of the sun until the darkness of the night, and the recitation at dawn. Indeed, the recitation at dawn is witnessed." Quran 17:78. For a Muslim, this is not suggestion, it is instruction, a sacred contract. Prayer is both obligation and invitation, to remember God in the midst of life's noise. The origins of the 5 daily prayers trace back to what Muslims call the Isra and Miraj, the night journey and ascension. According to Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad was taken on a miraculous journey from Mecca to Jerusalem and then ascended through the heavens. There, he was commanded to instruct his followers to pray 50 times a day. When the Prophet humbly asked that the burden be eased for his people, the number was reduced to 5. Yet, Muslims believe, the spiritual reward remained equivalent to 50. It is a story that reveals a divine balance, mercy within command, compassion within structure. The number 5, then, is not arbitrary. It represents rhythm, moderation, and balance between human capacity and divine expectation. Each prayer occurs at a specific moment in the natural cycle of the day: before dawn, Fajr; after the sun passes its zenith, Dhuhr; in the afternoon, Asr; at sunset, Maghrib; and at night, Isha. These are not random appointments, but reflections of the world's changing light. Muslims don't simply watch the sky, they live by it. Prayer becomes a form of alignment not only with God, but with the universe itself. When the sun tilts, when shadows grow, when night unfolds, the believer adjusts too, reminding himself that time is not his to control, it is his to honor. From the outside, praying 5 times a day might look rigid, even exhausting. In a culture that prizes efficiency, it could seem like an interruption. Yet to those who practice it, prayer is the opposite of disruption. It is renewal. The Prophet Muhammad once asked his companions, "If there were a river at your door and you bathed in it 5 times a day, would any dirt remain on you?" When they said no, he replied, "That is the likeness of the 5 daily prayers." Prayer in this sense is not repetition for its own sake. It is cleansing of worry, guilt, arrogance, and distraction. Each prayer is a reset button, washing away the dust that accumulates on the soul between dawn and night. But prayer is not only about purification, it is about discipline. To pause 5 times a day, regardless of where you are or what you are doing, requires structure. It demands that life revolve around something other than personal desire. This discipline builds humility, consistency, and focus. In a world where people chase control, prayer teaches surrender. In societies where time is treated as a commodity, prayer treats time as sacred. Every call to prayer, echoing from minarets or phone apps, is a reminder that life's rhythm belongs not to human ambition, but to divine order. Yet Islamic prayer is not withdrawal from the world. A Muslim is not required to retreat into isolation or silence. On the contrary, prayer is embedded within daily life. It can be performed in an office, a park, a train station, a field. It takes only minutes, yet it transforms those minutes into eternity. The Prophet once said that the whole earth has been made a mosque, meaning that wherever a person stands with sincerity and purity, that place becomes sacred ground. Prayer is not an escape from life. It is an embrace of life with awareness of its creator. The act itself is deliberate and physical, standing, bowing, kneeling, and placing one's forehead on the ground. Each posture carries meaning. Standing expresses attentiveness, bowing symbolizes respect, prostration, forehead pressed against the earth, is the ultimate expression of humility. In that moment, no one is superior to another. The powerful and the poor, the ruler and the refugee, the scholar and the laborer, all are equal before God. For Muslims, this gesture is not degradation but dignity. To lower oneself before the one who created all is to rise above the illusions of pride and power. Beyond individual spirituality, prayer also forms a collective identity. Across continents, time zones, and languages, Muslims unite in a synchronized rhythm. When the sun rises in Jakarta, when it sets in Cairo, when midnight falls in New York, millions bow in the same direction, the Kaaba in Mecca. This shared orientation binds a global community without borders. It is a visible expression of unity, equality, and shared purpose. Even when praying alone, a Muslim knows that he is part of a vast, unseen congregation stretching across the world. Yet prayer is not a monologue, it is dialogue, an intimate conversation with God. Each prayer begins with the recitation of Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter of the Quran. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Guide us on the straight path. These words are spoken directly to God, not about him. The believer stands not as a spectator of the divine, but as a participant in a relationship. When Muslims recite verses, bow, and whisper supplications, they are not repeating hollow formulas. They are reaffirming purpose, dependence, and gratitude. Psychologically, the benefits are profound. Modern research confirms that moments of structured mindfulness reduce anxiety and restore focus. Yet for Muslims, prayer is not simply meditation, it is orientation. While meditation may turn inward, prayer turns upward. Its goal is not self-awareness, but God-awareness. It trains the heart to remember that meaning is not self-generated, but divinely given. The Quran says, "Indeed, prayer restrains from immorality and wrongdoing, and the remembrance of God is greater." Quran 29:45. In other words, the habit of remembrance protects the soul from losing its moral compass. Still, an honest discussion must acknowledge the difficulty. To pray 5 times every day consistently is demanding. It tests patience, discipline, and sincerity. Even believers struggle. And critics, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, sometimes argue that repetition risks turning prayer into empty routine. Islam's response to that is both practical and philosophical. Repetition does not eliminate meaning, it builds it. Just as music gains beauty through rhythm and poetry gains power through repetition, the act of praying 5 times becomes its own kind of art. The body learns what the mind forgets. The ritual forms the person, even when emotion wavers. You do not pray 5 times because you always feel inspired. You pray 5 times so that you remember what inspiration feels like. At its deepest level, the 5 daily prayers are about living consciously. They transform time itself into a spiritual landscape. Each prayer is a milestone. Dawn becomes hope, noon becomes gratitude, afternoon becomes perseverance, sunset becomes reflection, night becomes peace. The entire cycle of existence, from waking to sleeping, from striving to resting, becomes framed by moments of awareness. The Quran's command to remember God often is not poetic advice, it is practical design. Without remembrance, time becomes a blur. With it, time gains meaning. So why do Muslims pray 5 times a day? Because it is commanded by God, yes, but also because it works. It purifies the heart, disciplines the body, aligns the soul with the movement of the world, and anchors life in purpose. It weaves faith into the fabric of the ordinary day, turning every sunrise and sunset into a reminder that human beings are more than what they earn, buy, or desire. It is not the repetition of words that matters, but the rhythm of remembrance. For those outside the faith, you may see in this practice something universally human, the yearning for order, for stillness, for connection. You may not bow toward Mecca, but you too have things you center your life around: your work, your passions, your loved ones. The difference is that for a Muslim, that center is fixed, constant, unchanging: God. To witness a Muslim at prayer is to see a moment of surrender that is, paradoxically, a moment of freedom. 5 pauses in a restless day. 5 reminders of meaning in a noisy world. 5 returns to the heart. In that simple, disciplined act, Muslims find what many spend a lifetime searching for: balance, clarity, and peace.